I waited 5 long years for this moment in crypto. 5 years of holding XRP through lawsuit drama, through bull runs and crashes, hoping that one day I would wake up to see that life-changing price. And then, when a $20 billion crypto crash hits the market overnight, I thought that day might never come. I was ready to throw in the towel, but just when I was about to give up, something absolutely shocking happened that completely flipped my perspective. Now, let me take you back just a bit. It's 2020, and I'm a fresh-faced crypto investor, absolutely convinced that XRP was my ticket to the moon. I joined the XRP army with wide eyes and high hopes. Fast forward to late 2024, XRP actually skyrocketed. I watched in awe as it shot up from around 50 cents to nearly $3.40 in just a few months. That's almost a 580% jump. The kind of rally that makes your heart skip a beat, like you're at least on a roller coaster, right? And everywhere that I looked, people were hyping up even bigger numbers. Some said $10 was just around the corner. Others went full on crazy, calling for $100 or even $1,000 per XRP. And I mean, who wouldn't get excited hearing that? I know that I certainly did. Now, I remember telling my friends, if XRP ever hits $50, the drinks are on me for life. Spoiler alert, we never actually had to buy those drinks, right? And well, thank goodness, because I don't even drink, right? Reality came crashing down pretty hard. XRP peaked at around $3.40 in January 2025, and then nothing after that magical number. I mean, we did briefly get to 366, but other than that, the price just slipped. Momentum has fizzled. And by mid-2025, XRP was just trudging along under that glorious high, stuck in that range between $2 and $3, sometimes even dipping below. So all of those newcomers who jumped in during the hype, well, I could practically hear their disappointment through my screen, right? The wild predictions weren't coming true. And the mood in the community went from euphoria to just downright frustration. And it wasn't just the price stagnating either. The economy was doing nothing for us in terms of favors either, right? Inflation was biting, jobs felt less secure, and some everyday people were desperate for a bit of a win. In tough times, people look for a bit of a savior. Sometimes that is gold, sometimes it's stock market, and for a lot of us in 2025, it was crypto. Now, XRP was supposed to be the safe haven from all of the chaos, especially after it had proved itself with that kind of meteoric kind of surge earlier on. But instead of being the lifeboat in a rather stormy sea, XRP actually felt like it was just floating there, not really rescuing anyone, right? Now that only added more fuel to this fire of frustration. Right? I've seen it firsthand in our free educational Discord server. The link, by the way, is in the description. And in our community chats, people who've kind of held XRP for years, like myself, some even longer than I have, were venting, and they were venting big time. XRP, or at least will XRP ever move again? Or did we all just drink the Kool-Aid? Now, one person wrote this: the sentiment was grim, and possibly and probably even the gloomiest that I've witnessed in the last 6 months alone. And speaking of 6 months, here's a crazy parallel. The last time that I saw morale this low was about half a year ago. Now, coincidentally, that was when President Donald Trump had dropped a bit of a bombshell by threatening huge tariffs on China. That news spooked the market, not just Wall Street, but also crypto too, sending XRP and its friends tumbling down. Fast forward to now, and guess what? It's like deja vu. The ghosts of tariffs came back to haunt us all. Trump went on social media, of course, hinting at a 100% tariff on Chinese imports. In plain English, a potential trade war is on steroids. Markets are panicked as if on cue. Now, what followed was one of the most chaotic nights that I've ever experienced as a trader. So picture this: I'm laying in bed, just doom scrolling on my phone. We've all been there. But I see Bitcoin starting to tank. Within a few hours, the entire crypto market goes into a full-blown meltdown mode. And we're talking about a $19 billion worth of leveraged positions liquidated across the board. And yes, that was billion with a B. Gone, poof, just like that. It was the biggest crypto wipeout in history in terms of the sheer dollar amount. So to put that into perspective, it was something like 20 times bigger than the amount liquidated during the COVID crash of March 2020. And even veteran traders were stunned. Now, XRP was no exception in this bloodbath. My portfolio was a sea of red. I watched XRP plunge roughly 15% in a single day, and at one point, even dipping into the mid $2 range. It felt like the floor was just falling out from under all of us XRP holders. Now, Twitter, or X as they kind of call it now, was on fire with the panic. Some people literally lost everything because they were leveraged to the gills, betting the farm on prices, or at least that prices, would only go up. Here's a pro tip though, right? If you've ever kind of tempted to trade with heavy leverage, especially on a volatile asset like crypto, well, you should probably think twice. And then once you've thought twice, you should probably think again. Because I'm grateful that I wasn't doing any crazy leverage. Unfortunately, because of our memberships down in Discord, I was actually in a trading session yesterday, or the day before in fact, and I actually opened some short positions because that's what the data was suggesting. So fortunately, I had some leveraged short positions opened at the time. Because, I think it's important to reflect that leverage is one of those crazy things. And seeing that $20 billion carnage was enough to obviously make me swear off of the riskier trades and use proper risk management. If you're interested, join that Discord that I mentioned earlier, because we talk about proper risk management all of the time. Low leverage, 1% of your trading account, and isolated, never cross. Anyway, that's cross leverage if you know what I mean. But in fact, I've learned to play this game much safer over the years. Now, I mostly stick to regular spot trading where possible, and I do it on reliable exchanges that I can trust. For example, I sometimes use Blowfin to trade. Full disclosure, there is an affiliate link in the description which helps support the channel here at no extra cost to you. I also love BitGet for a lot of my leverage-based trades. Again, that is also an affiliate link that is in the description down below that does support the channel at no extra cost to yourselves. Now, these are just the tools, right? And the important part is actually to avoid gambling with ridiculously high leverage when the market gets a bit crazy like it did last night. So, there I was, right, staring at the screen, watching what looked like the end of crypto's world in real time. And honestly, I was, at least a part of me, I should say, just wanted to kind of rage quit everything, right? Sell everything, right? Say heck with it, right? And never look back and never look at a chart again. And I know that a lot of you guys all felt the same way. Some of you probably even hit that sell button out of pure stress. There's no judgment here, by the way. This market can break even the best of us. Now, I felt a bit broken too, at least for a moment, right? 5 years of waiting for that one big break, and instead of a front row seat to the biggest or run to the upside, we actually saw had a front row seat to the biggest liquidation event ever. The frustration doesn't even begin to kind of cover it. But here is where our story takes a bit of a turn, because right when I was about to make an emotional decision that I probably would have regretted, I actually hit pause and took a bit of a breath. And I remembered something really important. In crypto, extremes are usually when the plot twists actually happen. So let's think about this. When everyone is unbelievably bullish, that's often when a top sneaks on in. And when everyone is in total despair, well, sometimes that's exactly when things quietly start turning around. This is one of those moments. So at least that's a question there. It's not a statement. Is this one of those moments? And I had to find out. So I started digging through a lot of the noise, looking for any glimmer of hope or at least a sensible reason not to give up. And I stumbled on a few rather interesting things. First, I saw a post from an XRP community veteran. This is Zach Rector on X, and this guy has been around the block a bit. And he pointed out something pretty crucial, that the US government was, and still is, in the middle of a shutdown, meaning that the SEC basically hit pause on a whole bunch of things, including those much anticipated XRP ETF approvals. Now, according to him, once the government gets its act together and reopens, the SEC is likely to greenlight those XRP ETFs. And when that happens, Zach believes XRP will be, quote, on its way to double digits. Yes, double digits, as in XRP shooting past $10. Now, I know what you're thinking. We just finished talking about how unrealistic those $1,000 price predictions were, right? So why should $10 be any different? Well, here is the distinction, right? $10 isn't some hopium number pulled out of thin air. It's a figure that some pretty serious analysts actually think is achievable if, and it's a big if, of course, the institutional money does pour in through those ETFs. In fact, I did a little homework and found that even before any kind of XRP ETF is live, big players have been quietly loading up on XRP. One report showed that institutional wallets scooped up about $1.75 billion worth of XRP over the last couple of months. They're not screaming about it on social media like a lot of your influencers, or finfluencers, whatever we want to call them these days. They're just slowly, steadily accumulating, like they actually know something that the rest of us don't. Now, that was a bit of a light bulb moment for me, right? While retail folks like us were panicking or drowning in our despair, institutions, the so-called smart money, were actually kind of treating this a bit like a clearance sale. Now, the contrast was quite jarring, right? It made me think that the old Warren Buffett quote, right? Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. And right now, the retail crowd, basically us, the little guys, are incredibly fearful. We're fearful to the max, and as fearful as we were 6 months ago during the last tariff scare. And you know what happened after that last kind of bout of extreme fear? Well, the market eventually turned around and XRP went on to do pretty well in the months that followed. Now, history might not repeat exactly, but it often does rhyme. Now, around this time, I was also piecing together these clues and trying to kind of calm my nerves. I came across something else that grabbed my attention, something outside of XRP, but oddly relevant to my journey here. I discovered a project called Unity. Now, I'm not gonna lie, at first, the name made me think of some kind of sci-fi video game or maybe a spin-off of a Unity game engine, right? But no. Unity Nodes is actually a crypto project, and it is popping up in all sorts of different conversations that I have been following, right? Since I was already kind of knee-deep in research mode, I decided, why not check it out? Now, from what I've gathered, Unity Nodes is some sort of community-driven network that actually lets people, like you and me, run nodes, at least something called a masternode. If you're not familiar, running a masternode is basically like a VIP in the blockchain network, right? And you get to keep the kind of transactions flowing, or in this particular case, what Unity is doing is verifying the telecoms network, right? So you're doing little verification tasks with your mobile phone devices, and you are earning some crypto for doing it. Earning little rewards, essentially. Now, it's kind of like getting, I guess, interest, for just having things running in the background and securing, or at least checking to see whether there's network outages and things like that. Now, Unity Nodes seems to be trying to make this whole process a lot easier and basically really intuitive for anybody, every normal person that's out there across different kind of, communities and demographics and all that kind of good stuff. It's really quite an interesting thing. Anyway, people have been talking about it as a way to potentially earn passive income while contributing to this network. Now, I'm a naturally curious guy, comes with the crypto territory. So I decided to take a small leap of faith here, call it an experiment. I purchased a Unity master node myself. Yes, I put some skin in the game. Now, it is a pretty crazy amount, I guess. It's quite an expensive NFT. It's about $5,000 and it comes with 200 licenses that I can hook up 200 different mobile devices. Now, the platform's app is not fully live just yet, so I can't see any rewards. I can't test anything right away, but I am starting with these 10 phones right here as a small test to see how things go when it does go live. Now, I plan to run this test with the kind of licenses that I've bought and to see how it actually performs in this real world. Will it be an absolute game changer like I think it could be, or is it going to fizzle out? I have no true idea, but I have faith that this is actually something that could be very profitable. Now, what I do know is that I'm not counting on it to make me rich overnight or anything crazy like that. It's more of a side quest in my crypto journey, something to explore and to learn from the sidelines whilst I wait for this kind of main quest, XRP's grand finale, to kind of play on out. And let me be super clear here as well. Just because I'm trying it doesn't mean that I'm saying that everyone should just go and buy a Unity node right now. Absolutely not. But if you are curious about it, you should probably do your own research. In fact, they have a rewards calculator on their website too, and I'll put a link in the description down below. So you can toy around with it and get an idea of what running these kind of devices, these mobile phones, can actually yield, right? Check out that if you're interested, run the numbers, and if it does make sense to you guys, well, you know what to do. Right, this space is full of hype and I refuse to add any more to it. Unity is simply kind of caught my attention as a new tool for the community to leverage and to earn even more XRP on the side. Because yes, you can choose the cryptocurrencies to be paid in, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Zeta, or XRP, and a whole host of others as well. So I'm not going to add any more kind of hype to it, just think it's quite an interesting thing that could potentially be a pretty decent passive earner. So check it out if you're interested. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, that's the disclaimer done. We had to do it. You know the drill by now. So let's get back to the story. So here I am, right, with the end of 2025 creeping up on me, holding on to my XRP stash like a kid clutching a Willy Wonka's golden ticket, except my ticket hasn't even gotten me into the chocolate factory, at least not yet. Now, I've been through the highest highs and the lowest lows with this thing. I've watched the world throw everything at XRP, lawsuits, FUD, unrealistic hypes, global market panic, and XRP is still here. And you know what? So am I. Now, I won't pretend to know exactly what is going to happen next. I've learned that in crypto, the moment that you think that you have it all figured out, you're probably about to be humbled big time. But I will tell you what I'm doing for whatever it is worth anyway, right? I'm holding on to my XRP, but with opened eyes and a grounded mindset. No more daydreams of Lambos and moon parties just because some influencer on TikTok or Twitter tweeted a rocket emoji saying, trust me, right? Now, if XRP climbs, fantastic, I will be thrilled. And I might actually take some profits next time, but all because, hey, bulls make money and bears can make money too, but pigs, they get slaughtered, as the saying goes. So if it doesn't, well, I'll have to reassess and see if my money is better off being put elsewhere. Now, one thing is for sure, this journey has taught me the importance of patience and the danger of the hype. Right? Being an XRP holder has felt like being on a long road trip. Sometimes you speed ahead, sometimes you get stuck in the traffic, and sometimes you run into a detour that makes you want to scream. But if you believe in why you started the trip, you just keep on driving, and along the way, you might find interesting pit stops, like the Unity node side quest for me, that makes the whole ride just a little bit more worthwhile. Now, I also take comfort in the bigger picture, right? I think about how far crypto has come since 2020. Back then, $100,000 Bitcoin was just a pipe dream. Now we freak out because Bitcoin fell below 110 and, touched on $102,000 at the point of recording. Back then, XRP's legal issues with the SEC were a huge cloud of uncertainty. Now, that's largely actually all put behind us, and we're talking about potential ETFs and institutional adoption. Right? Progress is being made here, even if the price doesn't reflect it every single day. And so, if you are an XRP holder feeling that frustration that I've spoken about today, then you can trust me here. I do indeed get it. You are not alone, right? We are literally in all of this together, hashing it out on our Discord and watching the charts a bit like a hawk, right? It's okay to feel frustrated. It's been a pretty wild year with a whole lot of mixed signals. But you got to ask yourself, why did you get into this in the first place? If you still believe in the technology, the use cases, the mission, whatever your reasoning was, well, then maybe this rough patch is just that, a patch, not the end of the road. And if you've changed your mind and decided to move on from XRP, guess what? That's okay too. No one ever got hurt taking some profits or reallocating to something that gives them a little bit more peace of mind. As for me, I'm staying in the game, cautiously optimistic. Maybe the ETFs will roll out and give us that long-awaited rally. Maybe they won't, and I'll have to eat my own words. But either way, I'm going to have a story to tell, right? This is the story of how I nearly quit, how I stuck around, and what I learned through it all. In the end, and I promise this is the last part, I'm glad that I didn't just click that sell button and disappear. Instead, I shifted gears, I looked for answers, and I found a new perspective. Sometimes the night is darkest just before the dawn, as the saying goes. Maybe this was one of those nights. Maybe the dawn is coming. I guess we're just going to have to find out together. So, what do you think? Are you holding on to your XRP, or have you moved on to something else? You can let me know in the comments down below. We'd love to hear your story and your take on all of this. And if you're still listening, at least here listening to mine, well, thank you, because seriously, it does mean an awful lot. And if you want to join a community of like-minded people, then remember that our Discord server is open for you. It's completely free, and it's full of people sharing ideas and learning. The link is waiting down in the description. Whether you're frustrated, hopeful, or maybe just crypto curious, you are of course welcome there. Oh, and here's one last thing. If this video has resonated with you at all, you can do me an absolute favor by smashing the like button and hitting subscribe. We'd love you to stick you around for the next chapter of this wild crypto journey. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next one.